Baazigar was released in 1993 and stars Shah Rukh Khan, Kajol, Shilpa Shetty, and Dalip Tahil. And in this movie, a man vows revenge after a man takes away his father's business and causes the death of his dad and sister. This was actually one of my favorite Bollywood movies to watch growing up, and I know that watching this movie was probably a terrible decision to do as a child because this is one of the scariest, most suspenseful Bollywood movies ever made, and it still haunts me to this day. Before I start, I want to say 1993 was such an interesting year for Shah Rukh Khan because in 1993, he had Dar and Baazigar come out in the same year. But not only did they come out in the same year, they were only released a month apart. That is crazy how in 1 year he had two of the most iconic Bollywood movies come out. These movies are still some of his best performances to this date, and I can't believe they came out the same year. And with that, let's go into my first positive, Shah Rukh Khan. I mean, come on, the man is an acting god. He just knows how to act. What's so great about this performance specifically is that in 1 second you believe he's this happy-go-lucky, you know, hopeless romantic type guy, just your guy next door, and then the next second he's wielding a knife and choking people to death and he's a full-on psychopath. What's so funny is that even though he's doing these horrific acts, you still pull for him because that is how important the script writing is, because of how the movie is structured, because you kind of make him a sympathetic villain. It makes you pull for him even though he's doing these awful things and hurting innocent people. Oh yeah, and Shah Rukh Khan's evil laugh, it still haunts me to this day. I've said it once and I'll say it again. I could watch 1,000 movies of Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol acting together. They just are so good together. Every movie they're in, the relationship they have is just so authentic. Every scene they're in, their characters feel so real because of how good they are at acting and the amazing chemistry they have. There's a reason why they are still the best on-screen couple in movie history. Bollywood, Hollywood, whatever you want to say, they're the best on-screen couple and nobody can debate that. What was also mind-blowing was that this was Shilpa Shetty's first movie. I couldn't believe it, that this was the first movie she ever did. I can't imagine the pressure she was feeling that her first movie was acting with Shah Rukh Khan, Kajol, and Johnny Lever. Like, that's crazy, but she never felt out of place. Like, she was excellent as her character of Seema, because that happy-go-lucky innocent girl is actually pretty hard to do in my opinion, and she did it very well. I mean, you easily fell for her, which I know me saying that is a pretty awful pun, but let's talk about that twist. So the twist in this movie is that the entire first half you believe is just a simple Bollywood romance story, okay? Shah Rukh Khan's character likes Seema, and they're gonna get married, and they're gonna elope and happily ever after. But then they go up to the roof, and Shah Rukh Khan throws her off and she dies. I remember watching this as a kid. I was like, oh, okay, they're on the roof. Okay, she's sitting on the ledge. Okay, he has her feet. Okay, he threw her off. Oh, she died. Oh, she died. What? And my jaw's on the ground. And instantly, the tone of this movie changes and you are just hooked. I think it's really difficult to accomplish a good twist. And this movie did it perfectly because leading up to it, you see Shah Rukh Khan's dual personality in a way. That's what he does. In 1 second, he's Ajay Sharma, and the other one, he's Vicky Malhotra. So, when he's Vicky, obviously he has different eye colors, but you never specifically, they never show you that, hey, it's him. It kind of looks like that's two different people. So, that's kind of interesting. Like, oh, okay, it's two different people. But then when he murders her, you're like, oh, it's the same person. He just changed his eye color. I think it was a very well done twist. Something that, you know, people don't really do now. It's really hard to accomplish a good twist. But Baazigar did it perfectly. For every great movie, you need a good villain. And that's what Dalip Tahil was for it. Oh my god. Hopefully I'm saying his name right, Dalip Tahil. But man, he is so good in this movie. One of the most iconic villain performances of all time. I have never hated a character as much as Madan Chopra. I mean, he reminds you in almost every scene he's in who he is.
Madan Chopra naam hai mera. Madan Chopra. Madan Chopra hai mera naam.
God, I hate that character. For all the right reasons. That's how you know you have such an iconic performance. After rewatching this movie after so long, this movie is so dark. Like, don't get me wrong, I knew the story was dark, but in terms of visuals, it's so suspenseful. Such a great thriller. I forgot how suspenseful this movie is. I mean, once Shah Rukh Khan was revealed to be the murderer, every scene he's in, you're just on the edge of your seat. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to get killed. He just has this evil, horrifying look, and it terrifies you. And that's what's so good. And especially the last 10 minutes of this movie where they're just, woo, like full-on crazy, blood and gore. People are getting murdered just left and right. Shah Rukh Khan stabbing people, glass in people's faces. Okay, I want to talk about the practical effects real quick. Don't get me wrong, Bollywood is doing great with VFX and, CGI. I'm glad that they're kind of progressing in that. But there's just something so special about seeing practical effects done right. I mean, you straight up see people with glass in their face. Like, just, it's awful. I saw it and I was like, oh my god, that's great, but also horrifying. The music is also really good in this movie. It's one thing for a movie to have 1 to 2 good songs and the rest are like, okay, they're manageable. But it's another thing when a whole movie, every song is so good. Like, all their music is still being played to this day. We are nearing the 30-year mark of this movie, which is unbelievable. I still listen to the music of this movie. What I also like, and this is just a personal preference, I like when Bollywood music makes sense to the story. Like, when you watch it, you're like, okay, this makes sense. You have to watch the video. Even if you don't like the song, you'll watch the song because there could be something important happening plot-wise. In today's Bollywood, it'll just be a random item number that has nothing to do with the movie. And if you hate the song, you're just sitting there for 4 minutes just going, oh my god, hurry up and end so we can get to the movie. I do want to talk about the ending. I talked about how gory it is, but it's also really emotional. Shah Rukh Khan, if you haven't seen this movie, spoiler alert, but Shah Rukh Khan does die at the end of this movie because of all the injuries he got. It made me so emotional. I swear, Shah Rukh Khan has died so many times in his movies. I mean, I don't know who the world record holder is, but he has died in, I think, like 17 to 18 movies, which is crazy. I mean, that is so emotionally draining for me because as a child, I hated watching Shah Rukh Khan die, and it's just so emotional. All his deaths are just super emotional, especially this one. Also, I just want to say this. There is nothing more terrifying than a psychotic Shah Rukh Khan chasing you with a bloody knife. Nothing. I kind of want to transition here to kind of my mixed bag portion of this review. There is some comedy in this movie. I think some of it wasn't necessary. Now, don't get me wrong, Johnny Lever in the 90s is super funny. One of the funniest people of all time. I think the comedy works in the first half. It's really well done. It's super funny. It's kind of sprinkled in throughout the first half, which is good because the first half is supposed to be more lighthearted. However, when you get into the second half where people are dying, I just don't think it's necessary to cut to a scene where Johnny Lever's trying to be funny. It's funny, but I just didn't think it kind of really made sense to the plot. Now let's talk about the negatives. Okay, there's a character in this movie that is so dumb that it was impossible for me to suspend my disbelief. Like, I just couldn't believe how stupid this person is. It's Seema's friend. So after Seema's dead, everybody's wondering, okay, who killed her? So at Shah Rukh Khan and Kajal's engagement party, Seema's friend decides to call up the house because she wanted to talk to Madan Chopra. But instead, Shah Rukh Khan picks up, and she just starts spilling her guts, saying, hey, you know that guy who murdered your daughter? I have his photo. Oh, and here's my address. Come by. What are you doing? Are you insane? First of all, how do you not know what Madan Chopra's voice sounds like? He is the most well-known person in this movie. He is super rich, super famous businessman. You should know what the guy sounds like. Shah Rukh Khan and him have 2 totally different voices. Why not go to Kajal in person and show the photograph? Don't you think that's the smart thing to do? Because you're just wasting so much time doing that. I think it would have been better to drive yourself down there and show the photo saying, hey, this is the guy, and then the movie would have ended a lot quicker. And my second negative, this is just some personal preference for me. There's a lot of scenes where they're just spoon-feeding exposition towards you. I think it's better to treat your audience like as if they're really smart. Why are you treating your audience like they're dumb? They can piece together the story. The story is not really hard to follow. So when they're showing a lot of scenes of just spoon-feeding you exposition, it's just personally not for me. I think they were just trying to eat up runtime because this is a 3-hour movie, so they try to find some ways to piece it together, but honestly, the script's not hard to follow, so I think the audience could have figured it out for themselves. Overall, guys, even though Baazigar is nearing the 30-year mark, this is still a great movie. It still holds up. Super suspenseful, a great thriller, one of Shah Rukh Khan's best performances. I'm giving this movie an A. I'm so happy I got to revisit this movie. I'm definitely going to watch this again pretty soon. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.